Thank you so much. The plug, too, is appreciated. The book is on Amazon, if anybody wants. I'm going to read mostly from my book, Awake the Reflections, today, and then I have a couple new ones I'd like to read, too, because I've done a lot of these in here, so I don't want to repeat too much for you all. And without much ado, this is called Inflection. The man of my reflection has many faces. Perhaps all the places he has been reveal themselves in the background of his eyes. His cheeks, his ears, even the pain that hides behind his sight is mine. Or maybe he is but a shadow, my face projected into the blackness of his pupils, drowning in my own reflection. Hands grip a porcelain well, feet bare against the tile, this face naked before the glass that is looking back at me, and yet I cannot tell who it is that smiles in this deception, because there is no smiling left in me. This is called home. A home is where the tears still flow, flowing down the house we know. A home would weep into our eyes and show us what our tears once smiled for. The house, the home, in wood and bone, where griefs and joy entwine. The past is here, foretold until the house is gone, and home our eyes with tears will fill. So a lot of my work in this book reflects around, this is called Many Reflections, Awake the Reflections, so it focuses on a lot of what it means to reflect, both like that visual reflection as well as internal reflection, as well as meditation, and a lot of themes about home and family, but this one in particular has some quotes from Picture of Dorian Gray, which is the ultimate kind of reflection, as it were. It's called Many Judgments. In the mirrors of the many judgments, my hands are the color of blood. And 'neath the gaze of my many faces, shame is growing flower and bud. I must sow poppies in my garden and taste the sweet liquid inside. For life has always poppies in her hands, oblivion entangled with pride. Thus shame with the senses tormented is met by the brother of time, emptiness, eternity in a place intemerate beyond the grime. No sorrow, no shame, no feeling, no pain, no memory for me to know. I am a part of the evil that exists in this world and in shadow. It's called This Joseph. What dreams we dreamed in vain. What good are dreams of futures unattained? Envisioned sleep, life's might is framed. We cannot wake up anyway. That one, along with a lot of others, I have a lot of religious industry, as he mentioned. I was raised in a very conservative Christian home, and has a lot of influence on my work. So this one is called From Dust to Dust. I was born with summer in my heart, that life has turned to winter of the soul. All my joys out like the flower fade, among my elders silent body laid, rot flesh, thaw snowy spirit whole. From dust to dust, relinquish my every part. I was born with summer in my heart. It's called The House Where Nothing Grows. How silent is the house where nothing grows. Dead lie the tender shoots of love that spent 10 years of trusting to break through the concrete floor of this home. Long were they in finding purchase. Briefly did they bloom. How silent is the house where nothing grows. How breathless. Space gasps in every room, and soon the gag of silence will have robbed this house of those who once laughed and breathed into the walls their vitality. But trust died so long ago. The ones who used to love no longer sow into the fertile foundations, and so they are quelled, ingrown now hard and cold. How silent. Is the house where nothing grows still breathing? The lives that sleep beneath her eaves no longer know. Once love may have bloomed, now the air is tepid, and nothing flowers, nothing grows. So this next one is kind of a gothic, very Poe-esque poem. I read a lot of Edgar Allan Poe when I was a child, and sometimes I like to write just dark things. It's called Red. Anger, yes, anger. Anger and a strong compulsion. And violence. Violence before a silence like plunging through an ice hole, no fishing line but water, cold and sharp as a hook plunging in my eye, suspending all the world in silence. Silence. Anger, yes, but also passion. Ruled by love, these actions move, stopped, then move a fraction of an inch, mental picture, move again, 1,000 images moving in my mind, images in my mind, and love, the puppet master, 1,000 strings to every muscle, beholden to the heart. Sinister, quite sinister, this comedy of mine. The set a house, the characters a family of 5. There laughs my boy in the garden front, in front of the house out in the woods, brow wet with sweat, soaked shirt, shovel clenched by the iron trap of fingers. How sunlight glistens through the windowsill, glistens on my daughter still, silent, sleeping with a pillow over her eyes. How bright my home, with screams of laughter up the stairs. Joyous, so joyous, the breath and racing heart of the flesh had cleaved unto my own, the flush, a bowl of petals floating red under her eyes. My hands upon her lilied throat, the petals drained, breath held in ecstasy, both our gazes smiling on our baby boy. Baby, baby, bouncing baby boy, playing in the watered tub, content to sit beneath the ripples dropped from the shower head, content because he did not know he was already dead. Dead, haha, dead, 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 dead. 6 months to learn and laugh and eat, but not to swim. And red behind my eyes, red that pours out from wells in the corner of my sight. Red floating clouds in a white-watered tub. Red kisses on a lilied throat. Red hands on a pillow white. Red sweat upon the brow, staining the white threads of a shirt, the ground, a shovel's edge. Here red upon my pale white hands. Anger, yes. But also love for this beatific scene with house and family, all silent like that icy plunge, bodies frozen, air still, except for me. Over and over the movie plays with their laughter in my head, and me, the painter, my face and clothes and hands in red. An interesting change. It was called I Washed These Hands. This has happened a long time ago I wrote this when I was in college, actually. And I had a day where I was feeling just so unclean in that day. I just felt like a horrible person. And this is a moment where I felt cleansed all a moment. Because I looked in the mirror and I saw myself and I realized that I was a man and not a boy anymore. It was just one of those moments. It's called I Washed These Hands. The stench, it clung to my fingers like death clings to humanity. Vicious and overwhelming. It burnt my breath. I could not stop inhaling. 2 stumbling steps to a silent bathroom, a light, a sigh, the rush of water circling into the earth, and always that stench burning. Eyes cast down toward the ground, half closed with sleep and the salt of unwept tears see not these filthy hands as they reach for the cold of a faucet, turning, life outflowing, flowing on the blemished palms. If these eyes were open, I know they'd see the water running black. A pump. Fingers receive the slick flow of saponification. Mint. Hands anointed. Water right. Running bubbles. The stench no longer clings to my fingers. Hands come to my startled face. I breathe them in. They smell like purity. Eyes opened. I gazed into the mirror, and there a man looked back at me. And in continuation with my other theme of home, this is called Homegirl. Clovers spring from happiness sown into the ground, in narrow side-yard pathways, in planters overgrown with rose and lavender and peony, amidst forgotten gardens paved in stone. Clovers grow as years unfold, awake trilobal heads in verdant groves of malachite conjured by the breath of home that inhaled the lives of countless progeny who tilled the earth with grubby fingers. Clovers flourish in homes abandoned, where fences rot and fall, and dust becomes their red brick walls, and cobwebs haunt their aching halls, where respirations cease, the breath expels, forgotten memories like perspirations flow, and grounds once plowed by tiny hands erupt in clover. I used to have clover at the side of my house growing up as a kid, so I always loved clovers. This is another poem that was actually inspired by The Silence of the Lambs, or no, Red Dragon, same series, but they just had this image in the book where these children were burying their cat, and it was a very solemn occasion for them, and so I kind of wrote this poem just about that image. It's called The Funeral. A pious shoebox of steel gray laid down, pharmacy ribbon knotted and frayed, gently arrayed to create salmon-colored flowers in the grave. Fingers ache in air so bitter cold that moments blur into the frozen, childish understanding of eternity. Ice and dirt become the black of mud, glistening like blood upon 5 tear-speckled faces, gazing solemnly on their honored dead. Entombed in the shoebox their warrior lies, defeated mice strewn about his feet, wrapped in a towel stolen from the kitchen drawer, woven in memories of mother cooking, the fragrance of cinnamon, and of naps in cloudy cotton warm upon the laundry floor. A halo of string and catnip sanctifies his head, a purple pansy flecked with black and gold adorns his furry hands, a pharaoh with treasures for the afterlife buried beneath the sands. 5 figures, 1 shovel driven into the ground, standing taller than the mourners that keep their somber faces bowed. No play acting of this grim facade, no infantile mimicry of a dark, salt-encircled pagan macabre ritual, only this all-embracing, smothering, unearthly silence. Self-regulated sobs, an oath of remembrance, as 5 pricks of blood fall upon wide, empty eyes. Silence that remains. Sod falls as the youngest turns her face toward the stars, and childhood aches in sad regard, and years and sudden restlessness dance with images of the moon reflecting in crystal pools upon her eyes, whose oceans crash into the beaches of her mind. The rush of water, the same perhaps as the unborn here, our last memory of peace. This one is a very personal poem. I wrote this because as kind of a high schooler and a child, I thought that I would never be happy, that I had to abandon my happiness to be what others thought I should be. And so this is kind of a love letter, as it were, to my happiness. It's called To My Happiness. The day you left, I woke to hold your warmth which lingered in my bed. The smell so strong and cloying, it pushed the tears back in my head. What idea so vicious, bold, strikes the mind as a brilliant beam of doubt with memories fading? What's love? Never what we dream. Once you held the pain away. Cold though this childhood seemed, you would sneak in my room, hold me till morning, whisper you loved me. How weak the heart who heard what others told, believed my love for you was stained, unnatural, that no praying could renew. Remember, it rained the night the world found us, mocked, pulled you from my arms, naked stood I in guilt, denying you, denying us, ashamed. Would I could forget the price, how I sold you away. The morning the sun broke through the stormy clouds, warming the place you used to lay. But run are you my happiness. The mold we made has broken. Winter falls on childhood love. No repairing this life now trapped beneath the walls of sorrow's home. For here I fold my griefs around another spouse named loneliness. Sit we crying in each other's arms. Drown this house. My love, how I wish I could be bold. Be in your embrace. Confess that I love you still, yet knowing that you are no longer mine, my happiness. Maybe when the years have left me old, to walk the road of heaven alone, unknown, you will grasp my shaking hands, and we will make our home. It's called Were the World Mine. Were the world mine, I'd hold it in a glass. A terrarium of light and of lands held in the recess of my eyes and hands, its crystal atmospheres bound round verdant grass. The lights above, 1,000 suns that burn, written on raging oceans that froth and churn, crash upon lifetimes spoken in the sands. Were the world mine, I'd teach it how to die, how flowers fade, their petals fall below, rot in the earth, allow young things to grow, how waters rise, condensation falls, breaths fly, transmuted by liquid gas and sunlight, how time forgets the lives now out of sight, and endless circles turn in heaven's eyes. This one's kind of about our relationships. It's called Forced Perspective. Forced perspective, stop. Theorize about our love. Words we said are said. Touch required passes tween our hands. We dance in society gracefully, compliment our reciprocity. Everything's so right, it cannot but be wrong. Revelation's key, no great surprise. Saw one day that when you smile at me, you love your own reflection in my eye. Our lives' story full with lying, and you lied. This is another kind of dark poem. It's called Growing Old. I killed a child today. He smiled at me in the street, so I smiled back with a grin that split the corners of my mouth. I was unhinged. With the white of malice pouring into my eyes, from my tongue there grew a sharpened spine. Incisors gleam, lips unfold, saliva swell, and I swallowed him. Engorged then, I pondered what offered this pedophilic appetite. For while he festered here inside, and the acidity of my thoughts assailed mortality, I grew young. Perhaps my conscience is the thing that feeds. I killed a child today, and if anything, I felt sagacious as I firmly cracked an aching jaw back into place. About the death of innocence. For those of you who don't know, this biblical story of the prodigal, it's about a son who demands his inheritance from his father. He takes half his inheritance and he goes out and spends it all and ends up kind of destitute. I wrote, so this is called The Prodigal. I love you. I loved you. We come now to the end. Here where strength and will and temperance die, against the floor my face is crushed. I lie unfeeling. Give me my inheritance. The prodigal I'll be. With happiness we've always said goodbye, and know that we could be happy if you were dead. What irony, bitter and informed, for I know that you will never die. So give me half of all you own. I will take your world instead. The grain that's mine upon the field, I'll reap now with the weeds. The scythe, the chaff besmokes the sky, and sold are all the fertile seeds, the work of many hands for my debauchery. See how patiently I watched my patience die, laid him gently down to rest, and with him gone, I know too long I have waited for happiness. Lest he pass me by, I will seek him in the eyes, the arms of men. O costly life, the debts are stowed away, who knows how we will pay? Eternal wrenches, do you exist? For God knows I have fought, yet you who did nothing when I wearied, now I heed thee not. Come pleasures, earthy and enfleshed, happiness and joy and patience have gone, left me alone, unknown, outbled. Now sinful arms hold me fast, though you will not keep. Yet I would rather die than know that I should be happy while I weep. A little dark one, too. That was a little short one. And I had a whole series of poems about death, and so this one's just titled 4. Give not to death your sympathy. His realm was ever lies, for when he'll eat the last of man, suffuse his great surprise. His hunger not been satisfied, it's death who will have died. And kind of the same, this is actually number 5. Death we wash with roses, wed him in the night, lie with him in lidded bed, his kisses on our sealed sight. Death we wash with roses, monument his pride, sleep with him in ebony, marble pale his bride. Death we wash with roses, join him in the ground, give our bodies to that place where weeping makes no sound. Death we wash with roses, tears without a fight, spirit yield mortality, and say goodbye to light. It's another brief one. Sometimes my poems just like to play with words, and they don't do much other than that. So this is one of them that's just, I like wordplay sometimes. It's called Time Swift to Grasp. Time swift to grasp, no solid hold we perceive, rhythm, speed, proficiency. Find me yielding quick lustrous time, its weight grows insufferable and stale, this allegory endless story wearisome. In debt dear space does time remain, his errant philandering with relativity is a blight to your caricature. Divorce, dethrone, throw out the light. I think I'm gonna, are we on time? One more? Yeah, okay. I'll end with this one, I think. I read read this one last month, but most of you weren't here, so I'm going to read it again. And those of you who were here can just enjoy it again. This is called I Can No Longer Remember the Taste of Strawberries. And I'm allergic to strawberries, and I realized that I can't remember what they taste like anymore. And it kind of became an allegory for forgetting childhood, just how memory fades. I can no longer remember the taste of strawberries, only my mother's face as she smiled, ruby fruit bursting on her lips like a lover's kiss, a guilty pleasure, forgotten schoolwork languishing upon the kitchen table. I remember their scarlet hue, cheeks pimpled like a teenager, skin that glowed as if they gathered sunlight beneath their globes of flesh. They came enshrined in plastic to tease the eye. My mother would place them in the large white kitchen colander, bathe them in the sink as if they were the baby Christ, water droplets like crystals reflecting their ruby sunshine. I remember my mother's hands, white with an olive tone, freckled, soft, and warm, reaching for a glass container of brown sugar, 2 scoops into the bowl shaped like flower petals that was my grandmother's. Fingers grasping an emerald crown, a slight twist as red sunlight dives into mottled sugar, and strawberries still bathed in water droplets wear the sweetness of molasses and kiss my mother's lips. I remember the strawberries of my childhood, every birthday in mountains of pie filling, in fractions upon a tort, boiled, crushed, and slathered on cheesecake, the faces of my youth stained with crimson juice and happiness. I was 22 when strawberries first tried to kill me. I worked for a creperie, chopped hundreds a day. An indifference laid one upon my tongue with no respect for my mother's sacred ceremony. Enraged, it swelled to close my airways. I can no longer remember the taste of strawberries, no matter how hard I try. Only the images of my past go racing by. Mother's smile, freckled hands, ruby hearts with emerald crowns, white colander, the crystal water, brown sugar at my trembling lips, then nothing, except that I know they made me feel like sunshine, and I was happy. Thank you.
Kyle James.